Good evening, good evening. Welcome, guys, to our Couch Talk, the Rock International Church's Couch Talk. Dr. J and Lady Lovett. We're here with Pastor Pierre, Pastor Abdias Pierre, and Pastor Shauna Pierre here tonight. They joined us on the couch tonight for some financial talk. All right, we are excited tonight. So as you're coming on, we want you to come on and like, share, comment, and go ahead and share with your followers tonight. You guys on YouTube, share, invite somebody to come on. You guys on Facebook, go ahead and share this post. This is going to be an interesting time tonight to talk about finances and marriage. We have the financial gurus here. So we really want you guys to hone in on this and get ready to get some interesting information. Before we get started, we just want you guys to tell us a little bit about yourself.
First, let me give a grand intro.
Oh, okay.
Intro.
He has to be extra because this is his other wife.
Oh, boy.
I knew it was coming. I knew it was coming.
So he has to give him a grand. Go ahead.
This is definitely my brother from another mother, my sister, amen, Pastor Abdias Pierre, Pastor Shauna Pierre. We welcome them here for our couch talk on tonight. None other. We've been through thick and thin. We love each other. What better people to have here with us tonight, especially with the things that we faced this year, right. Pandemic-wise, election-wise, and people thinking, let me pull all my money out, But before we get to the money, we definitely want to talk about marriage, because a lot of people want to get married, right? But what I found interesting in this season is that the people that want to get married like to hang with single folk. That's good. I find that interesting because they feel like they can get marriage advice from people who have failed relationships over and over again, and then yet they want to wait on their Boaz. The single people are always waiting on their Boaz, but I like how Jensen said it. It's a dumb, and a who, But I want to know before we get to the finances, what you guys say about let's start from single, and working towards marriage, how one should carry themselves, who should they confide in, who should they look after as blueprints for marriage, because there's a lot of people, especially in our time, of course, there's kingdom and culture, and because it's kingdom and culture, more people are looking towards culture because it's the regular rather than kingdom. So what do you guys say?
I'll let you jump in.
Okay, so I think that if we're going to start at single, right? So just recently I did a podcast, Oil and Dirt, with Pastor Charisma. Great podcast, by the way. We laughed probably 75% of the time. But what I really talked about on there is how I wish that I had taken more time to establish myself first financially. So I was trying to, kind of teach myself some stuff, but I didn't take the time out to find mentors to mentor me into exactly how to establish myself first, so that when we came together, we were building something together, right? So I think before you even start talking about what we're gonna do because we wanna get married, is looking at yourself individually and saying, let me get my own house together first,
right,
before I even consider combining my house with somebody else's house.
That's good, even as a woman, because let's talk from a woman's perspective, because so often in church, we are kind of taught to, but we are, as women, we're taught to wait for our husband, and we sit in the house and we wait for our husband to come get us. So we are not taught all of these principles of finding our own. Making sure that we have our own self together, making sure that we have our own financial self together, making sure that we have our own brain, making sure that we think for ourselves. We don't have all of that together because we are so often taught that we need a man to complete us, and we need a man to come find us and come get us, and then we become whole. Why is that? And we need to kind of break that culture in the church, where we need to start teaching our young ladies that, no, before you find a husband, you need to be a whole woman.
I totally agree. So I'm so glad you said that because I think that that is one of the most misguided cultures and kind of philosophies that sometimes are unspoken in church. And so inside of our brokerage, we actually have a team of women, and whether you're one of our agents or not, we have a group called the Glass Slipper Society. And the reason I even felt led to start that is because we were running into so many women who didn't have these things in place, who were waiting for a husband, who didn't want to take control of their income. And I said, no, you need to get your own glass slipper, right? And then when he comes, like we talked about, then you guys have something to put together. And so I think that the Proverbs 31 woman is not taught properly, right? She was a boss. Like her husband was sitting at the gate, you know, giving wisdom, right? But she was a boss in the sense of she was in the merchant. She was a merchant. She had her people out selling while they were making more fabric. Like it's definitely not interpreted, and it's not taught that way, that you absolutely as a woman can build an empire, but you're building it together.
I like how you said that she was boss.
She was boss.
Status.
Yeah.
She was. Boss status. Yeah, I agree with you. I definitely agree. Boss. And so how do you? Okay, that's taking me a little different now. So you said she was boss. And in this society today is as women bosses. And how do you say, because you're with a man of God, a leader in the community, the kingdom as well, in the marketplace as well, but both of you guys are making your own. You guys are making income. You're doing your thing. He's doing your thing. It's one big pot, but you're a boss. How do you come now to tell other people how to submit as a boss lady?
I knew you was going to do that.
Get prepared for this response.
All right, hot spot. This is the hot seat. I think that it was difficult, right? Because we're on the couch today. It was difficult to figure out that role and how do we work together, because we are both bosses. We're both very somewhat type A. So it's like, how are we kind of putting this mold together? And I really had to pray. And I'm not being churchy. I'm not trying to Jesus juke. Like, I really had to pray and say, okay, Lord, help me understand how my vision can fit inside of his vision so that we can build together. And that was a very long, arduous journey for me. Wouldn't you agree?
Absolutely. But I think what was
long.
right? It was a long journey. Yeah. What was interesting about it though is the fact that, and I think, you know, kind of going back to the singleness piece, right? Like I think people really need to understand the difference between singleness and loneliness.
Oh wow.
That's good.
And so what ends up what ends up happening is I'm actually just lonely, right? And because I'm lonely, what that does is then I start searching and I'm seeking, and you always say, no, I want it. But honestly, if you talk to most single people, you'll say, okay, well, why do you want to get married? Like, why do you want to tie together? Why do you want to come together? And there's not really a real response other than really companionship. I don't want to be, I don't want to be alone. I don't want to be, by myself. But I think if we can understand the difference, then singleness is actually a blessing.
Yeah.
Because singleness gives you the time needed, right, to figure yourself out. What are your wants? What are your likes? What are your desires? What do you want to achieve? What are your goals, right? What is your future vision? And so you're able to then build that so that when you come together, what made it, if you want to call it, it wasn't easy whatsoever. But I think what helped us was the fact that she was complete, I was complete. So we didn't necessarily come to each other like, oh my God, I'm missing a major piece of me. Can you please give me yours so that I could be whole?
Desperation.
Right? You know what I'm saying? Can you feel this emptiness in me? We really worked on getting, 100% good, on my own. And then when we come together, then we can be that power couple, that powerhouse, that, taking it on together. And I think when we really can look at it from that perspective, you really then see the blessing in the journey of getting yourself together so that when you connect with somebody, it's not like, hey, I need you to make me happy. I need you to give me peace. I need you to, you know what I mean? I need you to do all these things. It's more so, I'm good, you're good, but man, together we're great.
Right.
And let's go make that happen and kind of push forward.
But we have to talk too. So that is true. We came, into it wholly and 100%, not looking for each other to fill each other. But there are difficulties in that too, because now it's like, well, how are we gonna fit 100% of me and 100% of you in this container? And so that's a journey, I think, also, which is why you must have really good marriage mentors.
Absolutely.
You have to.
Absolutely.
So how do the young people find it? Because what I've come to find in our society, like us, we're getting old to some people.
Oh Lord.
We've hit that point.
Yeah.
We're at that place.
We are hit
Are
the
we
point
the old people?
where we're the old people.
We seem to be getting up there.
Right.
And what I'm finding though is that some of the youngers don't think that we've been through some of the things that they go through, or we just wouldn't know because they think we've been churchy all of our lives, right? We ain't never been in the club. We ain't never, you know what I mean? That's what they think.
Right.
So then how does one find a great marriage mentor?
That's good.
I mean, does pride have to be out of the way?
Well, I think pride and ego definitely have to be out the way, right? Here's one of the mistakes I think we make a lot of times, and we'll tell couples, hey, go find some marriage mentors, right? And so what the couple will do is they'll just go out and say, okay, well, who around us is married, right? And we're just going to tie ourselves to them and hope they get us, to wherever we're trying to go. The biggest piece of advice we ever got early off in our marriage was, you need to spend time with married couples who actually want to be married.
That's good stuff.
Right? And so it changed our outlook of what we were looking for. So it became more than just, well, how do you guys look in church, or do you guys look successful on social media, or does it look like you got your thing going on? But it created us to have actual conversations, right? Like, what do you guys really believe? Tell me about yourself, right? What transparency level can you have that we believe will empower us, right? And then too, I think when you're looking for a mentor, what we tend to do is we don't look for mentors, we look for peers. So it's more so, well, what couple are we cool with that we can hang with, and then that we'll grow together? But in actuality, it's really, how do I find those people that have kind of been there, done that, right? So in our lives, we've been married 12 years now, right? We spend time with you guys, 20, right? But we have another couple, right? They're in Georgia. They're 28 years of marriage, right? Then we got another couple above that. They've been like 32 years. My parents are 39 years. Her parents are 37 years, and then our ultimate marriage mentors have been married 52 years.
There it is.
So
that's powerful.
There's nothing we can go through that we can't come to a couple that's in our lives and say, hey, this is what we're struggling with, and they'll go, oh, man, come on. Been there, done that. At year 12, this is what we did. Right. So that's really when you're looking for a mentor.
I was going to say, one of our marriage mentor couples, John and Trish, they are so funny because we've sat, I don't think we were together, but it was a conversation that Trish and I were having, and I was, telling her, and I'm like, oh, it's horrible. And she's like, oh, kiddo, like, is that all,
Yeah.
And so I think that having those marriage mentors, like Abdias said, who are 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, 50 years, they have a very different perspective, and they kind of help us navigate and shift our perspective to be like, let me take 2 steps back and look at this, or really 10 steps forward and look at this from your vantage point. And that helps a lot.
And an unbiased opinion.
Yes.
Because they're not one on your side, one on your side.
Correct.
But
Gotta
they can
be
give
equal.
you, right. That's awesome. And even being married at 12 years, and one thing that we want to talk about in getting on the financial piece is that we mentor or go through marriage counseling all the time, and we have people come in all the time for marriage counseling, and the first thing that we talk about, or in our marriage counseling, is we go through finances. And it seems like people want to go ahead and get to this big elaborate wedding, but they don't talk about the finances. They don't talk about the financial piece. They don't even talk about how much the wedding costs. At that.
Yeah, I got the dream.
Right. So they will throw a $50,000 wedding and then not even talk about where we're going to live after the wedding. So how do you guys even mentor people in that? How do you open up that conversation?
Can Can I please? Okay.
Absolutely.
This drives me crazy. Now, we were blessed to, and I'm not going to go through that long, drawn-out story, but we were blessed to have a village of people around us when we were getting married, and so everyone kind of like chipped in and gave stuff, and, you know, we kind of maneuvered our way. We DIY'd our wedding, and our wedding planner was amazing. You know, she made it happen, and it looked beautiful. I mean, it was a beautiful experience, but we were dead set on not blowing cash. Like, we did not want to use any of our savings on this 3-hour event. Right? And so when we talk to couples, what we always say, and this actually works both ways, and maybe I'll come back to it when we talk about finances later, but there's a proverb in Proverbs 24:27. It says to plan and prepare your fields before you build the house. So it's like, do all your planning, your preparation before you step into this new journey and experience together, and not planning on like what flowers you gonna use on the day of, but planning what's really gonna build a foundation for your marriage to be healthy. You're still gonna go through drama even when you talk about it and plan it, but you're just you're more secure as you're walking through it. What you think, babe?
And I think to add to that, and that was really good, I think to add to that, one of the things that couples tend not to do, right, is they get caught up in the day, but they don't see the whole journey.
Yes.
Right? And so, like, every conversation we're having, like, I have a friend of mine right now that's getting married in a couple of months, and all they talk about is the day. Right? But I'm always like, okay, but what are the plans, right, for the living, have you guys had conversations about your finances? Have you actually talked about money habits and how to use money? How do I use money? How do we see it? And I think those conversations will help bring reality into the fantasy. Right?
After all these people go home and you done paid $125 a head,
plate, right?
What are you gonna do about
and they didn't even
lights
eat the chicken.
month?
They didn't even eat it. You know what I mean? It's a bunch of empty plates.
Because the chicken is
It's
dry.
Because the chicken been sitting for 3 hours, so we had to do the ceremony.
Right.
But really think about that, though, right? Like, all the money being spent for flowers that, if we be honest, in a day or two are going to be dead, right?
Right.
Food that's left behind, things that happen. So once again, it's really, and that's why I think even before getting married, having those mentors, because that even gives insight to say, hey, I get it. You guys are going to have a great time, which we had. Right. So they were like, hey, it's going to be awesome. It's going to be beautiful, but be mindful of how you approach it and try to make sure that things are lined up, you know what I mean, for tomorrow.
That's good.
Just get you a DJ and some KFC. Man, you call it a day.
Come on, man.
And walk down.
Chick-fil-A?
Right. You get you some Chick-fil-A sandwiches. Pass my. But so many people get caught up in the actual day that they don't think about people don't even ask, how much do you make? I mean, in the dating stages, because sometimes we have, people ball out. We going on trips to Cancun, and we're doing
Stunting on IG.
Right. And we're doing, these dinners to, these fancy restaurants and things like that. So we have an idea of what we think it's going to be when we actually move in with each other. So this happens. It literally happens. Yeah. So then after 2 months into your marriage, you are fighting because that is not reality when we have to pay rent, when we have to pay lights, when we have to pay water, and then when we get pregnant and have a baby. So when you face that conversation with people, it's so eye-opening when you see that people really don't sit down and have these conversations. Why is that so uncomfortable for people? When you're in a life journey with someone.
I think coming up, I think just growing up, period, right? Like, you think about employees, for example, right? You never talk about your paycheck. Don't tell people what you're getting paid. Don't share. And we grow up in households where it's like nobody really talked about money. Our parents didn't talk about money. Our families never talk about money. We're in organizations that aren't talking about it. So we kind of grow up with this complex that I don't talk about my money. Yeah. Nobody sees my bank account. Nobody knows my balance. Nobody knows what I'm going on. And so, unfortunately, then when we get into courtship, right, and we're headed towards marriage, we take that same mindset and those same ideals into that same moment, and I'm not talking to you about it. It's not important. Right. All we worry about is, can you pay for it? Is the deposit being made? Are the payments being covered? And will we be good to go that day? Right. But once again, it's building that comfort level. And then 2, having those, if you want to call it, voices around you that you entrust, right, to be able to speak into things that you don't even know. That's the power of a mentor. Like, they see further along, so they may help you actually navigate a lot of those conversations as you go through.
Yeah, and I think if we could even back it up a little further, right, to, I'll never forget my uncle. He was like, when you're dating someone and this is someone that you are serious about, you need to ask them, what do you do? How much do you make? What's your credit score? He was like, all of these things are important.
Come on, that's going to matter. When you're trying to rent the apartment,
right,
you're going to need a credit score.
Are you a saver or a spender?
Yeah.
You know, like, all of these things are how many stacks you got put to the side. All of these things are important because you're making a conscious decision of your quality of life when you're entering into a relationship with this person. Right. And I think that was a great lesson for him to have, given me. But imagine if we raised our children that way, where we're at the front end. It's like, oh, he cute, but let's run through these questions real quick,
Yeah.
So,
yeah. And even, I mean, the credit score thing is big. Like, where do we want to live? Because that determines with your credit score. That's going to determine if we can live, in maybe somewhere safe, or if we got to live over in the
She wanted to say Riviera Beach.
She was not going to say that. She was not going to say that. I got your back.
Don't call it out.
I got your back. I know what you mean.
If we can live somewhere where it's a lot of bushes and trees, and some
guard gate, all that good
suspect looking people sitting on corners next to, various convenience stores, or we can live behind some gates with some people that can protect us. This, you gotta pick it. You gotta pick it. You gotta pick. When you're in high school, it's totally different. But once we get out of high school, we got to pick where we want to live at.
But I think, too, one of the things that we're really talking about right now is clarity. Right?
Absolutely.
It doesn't mean
That's
that
his favorite word in this season, by the way.
Clarity is the more clarity you have.
Year.
I mean, that you gotta have clarity, and it's not to say that like you're not gonna marry the person, but at least, I mean, you may get there. You may be like, this ain't gonna work. But sometimes it's like, okay, that's your situation. All right, great. What's your plan?
Yes.
You know what I mean? What's your strategy? All right, I get that it's a X right now, but like, are you paying stuff off? Are you working towards? And I think in that you get clarity, because if the person goes, well, it's bad and I have no plan, then that leaves you to make a decision. But if the person goes, oh, no, you honestly, it was bad. Here's why it was bad. Here's why this is the way it is. But hey, look what I'm working on. Here's where I'm advancing to. Here's what I'm believing for. Then at least now you have clarity to say, okay, this is somebody going somewhere. It may be tough right now, but at least I know together we can get to where we're going to. So that's why I think it's important in the early onset to have those questions that ultimately help you to move forward.
Yeah, and I think, too, like, how can you not, that's intimacy. Being able to have those conversations.
Deep, intimate conversations.
And be transparent with each other. How can you even consider, linking your life up to somebody forever and ever and ever and ever and ever.
Yeah.
Right? Without that level of intimacy. Yeah. And I know some couples that have been married for a long time that have never had those conversations because they just weren't taught to. They were taught to just kind of struggle through it.
Yeah.
Struggle through it, fight through it.
No, sir.
You know what I mean?
And I think it's even like what Pastor Pierre was saying about, that we were never taught to ask. It was always a secret. And I can really relate to what you're saying. And even, that even when we're at work, and I work, in kind of like an HR type thing where nobody needs to know anybody's pay. You can't not to. You can't share anybody's pay. Nobody's supposed to know. Hide your paycheck. When you
I hate that.
When you log into
I want to know.
When you log into
I may be underpaid. I need to know. Like, where are we in this?
Sitting on the desk across from me and you making $10,000 more than me, I need to know. You may have better negotiating skills and I need to up my negotiating skills. We don't talk about that.
Right.
But you should be controlling your own income anyway.
Right.
We won't talk about that tonight, but go ahead.
It's a good. I mean, it's a good thing to even to think about. And that happens in so many different corporate companies that the person sitting next to you in the next cubicle may be making $5,000 more a year because they negotiated, their salary and you didn't. And that's why nobody talks about the salary.
And
so
you know what? I didn't mean to cut you off. You know why that's so horrible is because that corporation or that company has a spreadsheet, right? And every position that has to create or generate some type of product or work at that corporation, that spreadsheet has a line. And so every desk, every seat is a line on a spreadsheet.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? When we talk to our agents or even some of our clients, we're like, that job, that corporation, they're not asking you, hey, you know, what do you want your life to be like? You know, do you want to eat organic food? Do you want to live behind a gate? What kind of car do you want to drive? They're not asking you any of that. They're like, this is a cap for this line on my spreadsheet so that we can hit our revenue and our profit goals. You know, and so it's just, you have to remember that you're inside of a corporation when really you should be working to be your own corporation.
I like that.
But I know we way off topic.
no,
That's
good.
That's on topic because
That's good.
even when we define getting married, right? And let's just say we got married under the pretenses that you thought I was a baller. But when we got together, you know, I'm a faller.
Let's just say, for example.
He said he's a faller.
You know, but here's the thing, though, right? Like, why don't we get together and say, this is our future aspirations. I want my own business, but what do you want to do in your own business? Because all of us know, as long as you're working for somebody else, you'll never be rich.
Right.
Or should I say wealthy?
Or free.
Free. Yeah. Freedom is the biggest thing, right?
Biggest thing,
I mean, because I know that a lot of people say, well, it's about the money, but really it is about the freedom.
Yeah.
When you talk about their status, when you start talking from a different level, they talk about the freedom, not just having money. You know what I mean? We want to dress up. We want the car. We want, you know, the big house.
We want
the
people
five.
to see it.
We want everybody to see it. When they're still driving around in Honda Civics, still wearing Levi jeans.
Talk about it.
You know, in a white T-shirt. You know what I mean? And you would never know that they're walking around with 7-figure income.
But the bank know.
But the bank
definitely knows.
When they come in the door, how can I help you, Mister? You know. But why shouldn't it be a conversation on our future aspirations when we come together? I think that goes into what you guys were saying, the intimate part, the deep intimate part. You know, what are your goals, your aspirations? You don't want to get with somebody that ain't trying to do nothing. And you know, I'm trying to teach these young girls that I have, don't settle for anything. Right. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
You know, that might be a problem because I kind of spoil them a little bit.
No, that's not a problem.
You know,
he gonna have to come up.
Keep the bar high.
He gonna have to come up.
But that's what I, you know, because I see a lot of people settle for anything because in reality, you wanted comfort in this season, right? And not a lifetime partner. Yeah. Right. So you wanted to be with somebody because it goes back to that loneliness thing, right? And so you wanted comfort and you settled for whatever. Yeah. You know what I mean? And now y'all can't pull it together because you didn't really talk this thing out from the get-go, and now we have problems, major problems. And I'm finding that it's the norm now. You know what I mean? We just getting together just to get together. You know what I mean? You know, you good and I'm good, and you know what I mean?
Make it work.
I think you look good. Yeah,
the pictures are nice.
The pictures, the photo ops, baby.
Oh man, they nice. Beautiful.
The photo ops. You know, so I think that is major to come together in the courtship stage to say what it is that we want, not what I want. What am I doing? What is my credit score? I think that is foundational in today's society. If you want to go somewhere, because I mean, as we get ready to talk about the finances, you guys will be able to tell us that credit is king.
Absolutely.
Credit is king, even over cash now, you know? And I think a lot of people don't feel like that's a big thing because, you know, when we came up, you know, we had, you know, grandmas using, what was it, Finger Hut and all that other stuff. And I
remember that. And
why
my name on the Finger Hut?
Why do I got,
why's my name on the Finger Hut account?
You know what I'm saying? And so credit, you know, it's never been taught to us. Yeah. You know what I mean? But in this time where we're talking about Black Lives Matter, I want to see more black bosses, you know what I mean, being independent and doing their own thing, and that financial freedom, which I think you guys will be able to help us out greatly tonight. So as we're swinging that way, I know we're a little bit over a year that you hit regional vice president.
awesome.
Right, a little bit over a
Yeah.
year.
Yeah.
I'm close to it because when I was going to Atlanta last year, you were coming from Atlanta because
Yeah.
you had just been
Yeah,
crowned king
That's so
and
true,
queen.
yeah.
We were
You
on the
know?
stage and all that. Yeah.
You
Your
guys
boy
have-
jumped off the stage he free dived into the crowd. But we'll talk about that
Oh.
later.
It was a good time.
Yeah.
It was a good time.
Oh,
But-
wow.
but I wanna,
That's
you know,
interesting.
We want to publicly congratulate
Oh,
you
man, we
guys,
appreciate
regional
it.
vice presidents.
Appreciate it.
So tell
Thank
us
you so
about
much.
the business.
Oh man. So
Can we just first say thank you? Like, because you guys were there, y'all saw the journey up front row, right?
Up
and
front.
you watched us,
up front in person.
you know, work hard, persevere, try to stay encouraged through all of that. And so everybody doesn't have that type of support in their life. And if you don't, then you need to reevaluate your circle. So that's number one. But we just want to, as you're publicly congratulating us, say thank you guys for being there to support us and push us on and keep us encouraged.
Amen. Wouldn't have it no other way.
One key to, and ultimately one key to success is your corner. You know what I mean? Because your corner has the ability to help you get back up. Because there was many times where we were down, man, and it was phone calls, text messages, interaction, support, random acts of kindness, right? That enabled us to really be able to keep moving forward. But you know, now for our business, what we basically do is we sit down with families, individuals, small businesses. We educate them on basic financial concepts that they can really implement to help them, right, move to the next level. So really, it's financial coaching, right? We run a financial coaching education company that specializes in just teaching people what banks, brokers, and financial institutions don't teach, right? Which predominantly is just how money works. And that really, for us, is a huge passion, especially in our communities, but I just think across the board is, for most people, right, we've never taken a money one-on-one class. I mean, really think about it, like literally like a course on what do I do with my money, how do I handle it, how do I make it grow, how do I make it last, right? And so because we're not privy to that information, and if we be honest, right, most of the bigger companies are not focused on middle-income families. Right? So if you're not across the bridge, right, we're in South Florida, if you're not across the bridge or way out west, right, most companies don't want to talk to you because they believe that you don't have the value that they're looking for. So for us, we really just focus on making sure that middle-income families who are doing amazing and trying to just get ahead have that knowledge and access to the resources they need to really be able to just take them and their finances to the next level. And so it's just a big passion of ours. And been doing it now 9 years. It's going
Balling,
great.
boss.
We're excited.
Boss.
It's going well, right?
That's
But God has been good.
Yes, he
but
has.
we've also pushed, and I think
Yeah.
that's the two-part, the two parts that are needed for the equation of success, right? Like, of course, we have faith, we believe, but you also got to put forth that effort, right? You got to go out there and put yourself in position, and I believe God will ultimately bless the works of your hands, right? And so that for us is really what we share.
Amen.
Amen. Good job, babe.
Thank you, honey. I appreciate that. I appreciate that.
Amen. So what would be your advice right now as a helping a new couple, a new couple just getting married? What would be your financial advice for them just coming into a marriage? Let's say we have this scenario all the time. I have my bank account.
Oh, baby.
He got his bank account.
Here we go.
And what's mine is mine, and what's his is his,
Right.
and I ain't ready to merge it.
Gotcha.
But what would be your advice?
Gotcha.
To us?
That's a great question, and
Very
actually
common.
one that we get all the time, right?
Yep.
We get that question all the time, like, and then it's funny because then they'll always stack reasons on top of it. So it's like, he got his, I got mine, but it's because, right? And it's like, he spend this, or he do this, and all that.
He like to buy J's all the time.
Yeah, every other week.
Every time one of them come out, one time they hit.
Right. So
Somebody likes to buy Legos every time they come out. So if we throwing people under the bus, let me just talk about these $200 Lego sets that keep showing up on
I am
patio.
pretty sure that there are more than Legos
Right.
and J's on this stage.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Oh,
There
yeah.
are way more than
Very
just Legos
Yes, sir.
and J's on the stage. But what I would share with them is this, right? The Bible says it, I think, clearly, right? The two are becoming one, right? So when you're getting married, it is yes, 100% you, 100% me. We're going into the bucket together, and we're going to make this thing work. what we've always shared with couples, right, that are on that verge of beginning to combine and come together is, number one, because the two have become one, okay, the household is also one, right? We believe that ultimately husband and wife are really co-CEOs.
Right.
So when you look at, it's not like the husband's the CEO and the wife is like the COO or something. No, you're both co-CEOs, right? It's the same last name, so you're running the house together. So we've always instructed and taught, hey, you do need one account, right, to handle the house, right? What's the rent or the mortgage? What are the light bill, the water bill, the this bill, whatever, the things that allow the house to function, right? But then at the same time, I also, right, have your personal account. I'll have mine from a standpoint of play money.
We call them fun funds.
Fun funds, right? You should have a fun fund. I don't want my wife to have to call me every time she wants to go get her hair done.
And she won't.
And she won't. She won't do it. At the same time, right, I don't want her checking me when I go buy my Legos.
Okay.
It is what it is, right? I don't want to be asked. I'm just going to go do it. Hey, the bills are paid. Saving has been done. Tithe has been given, returned. Everything's taken care of. You got your fun fund, and I got my fun fund. And I think when you do that, it helps to bring balance and understanding, because here's why. When you run the separate account system, what tends to happen a lot of times is one is going to make more than the other. Right? So now you handling the light bill, I got the water bill, we splitting the rent like we're roommates. And then now the problem is though at the end of the month, somebody has a lot more left over than the other one. And what are you going
Legos and I'm not getting my hair done.
Right? So what are you going to do? Look at your spouse and be like, I don't know. You need to figure out the rent. No, right? They got to get paid. So I just think when you're looking at it from a co-CEO standpoint, right, what does the house need, right? You got to take care of the house. We're both here, right? It's handling it. It's our resources together. So let's make sure the house is taken care of. And then set, right, through conversations, set an amount for your fun fund. So, you know, every week, X amount of dollars is going into maybe 25, 50, 100 bucks is going into the fun fund. So when you want to go do something, you're not bickering and fighting, because you know the house, you know, has been taken care of.
Yeah. And it's important to, before you get to that, have a zero-based budget. So on the videos that we do on Thursdays, we talked about having a zero-based budget and why that's important. And once you have that budget in place, you can see this is our overhead. You know, this is what it costs us to run this house, this corporation, family corporation, and this is the income that's coming in. This is our revenue that's coming in to our family, you know, the Pierre Corporation, right, which is our home. And then after we've done that, then that determines the fun fund, right? So you can't be like, all right, you get $100 and I get $100, but the budget
light bill's
shows
not getting paid.
Red.
Right.
That's
light
not
bill's
gonna
not
work.
getting paid.
So
But I like that though. I like that. That's
and that makes that, I think, breaking it down in that way and telling them that they're co-CEOs and breaking it down like it's a corporation will really help people to understand that it's not your money, my money, your money.
It's the corporation's.
It's the corporation's money, and that makes a lot of sense, because we have a lot of people saying, well, it's my money.
Right.
It's our money.
I work.
Right.
It's our money.
I work hard. You work hard, but it's my money. It's not his money. So.
And your money, the money is always gonna go further when you're working together. Right. So if you're a team, you know, you're not going. I mean, it could be his and yours, but okay. But are you really winning? At the race that you guys are running together?
Right.
You know, if you're not playing as a team.
Right. Yeah. And how do we get on saving? Because if we are running this budget, if we're running the corporation, how do you then help a family or help them understand about also having that savings?
Yes, savings is critical. Okay, and so one of the things that we teach is a concept of the 3 accounts that you should have. Okay, and I think when we can balance it out like this will help bring clarity, of course, but then structure, right? That word clarity gonna come out a couple more times, but it's gonna bring structure, right? So first things first, when it comes to savings, okay, number one, everyone should have an emergency fund. Okay, that's exactly what it sounds like, right? That's money, cash, basically, that you have sitting aside, that if tire goes flat, refrigerator in the house messes up, you got to take the kids to urgent care in the middle of the night, right? Industry standards, right, say that you should have about 3 to 6 months worth of living expenses. So for example, if your monthly budget for the house is $2,000, you should have about $6,000 kind of sitting in cash that, God forbid something catastrophic happened, right? You're not panicking, right? The issue that you see in the pandemic right now is people entered into this moment, they lost their jobs or were furloughed or got cut, and there was no emergency money.
Right.
So there was no savings. So in that, right, they're like, oh my God, what do we do? What do we do? What do we do? That has to be a line item on your budget. Like your savings should be a line, like the savings doesn't come right after we've done everything. No, the savings is piece of it, right? So we'll always tell people you probably should look at like the 10-10-80 rule, right? Which is, hey, I'm gonna, hey, we're believers, so we're gonna tithe 10, right? But we're gonna save 10, okay? And then the other 80 is gonna be house first, right? Which the house is gonna include everything we got to do to handle what we got to handle, and then whatever's left over, then we can look at fun stuff, right? But when we look at it, that's number one. So you got to have that emergency fund. The second thing we're going to say is, okay, then now that you got emergency taken care of, what's your short-term goals? Now, the beauty of all this is it's creating conversation, right? Which is exciting. We're dreaming. So, babe, what do we want to do in a year? What do we want to do in 3 years? What do we want to do in 5? What home do we want? What car do you want to get? What vacation do we want to get? Okay, where do we want our child to go to college? So all of that stuff is going to be in your short-term savings, right? That's basically, okay, what do we have coming up in a short period of time that we need to save for? Why? Because we don't want to run up on it and once again have to dip into the emergency money to handle it. Because the emergency money is supposed to be for what? Emergencies. Okay? And then after you have your emergency account, after you got your short term, the next thing we're going to work on then is your long-term savings, right? That's going to be your retirement. You may work at your job. They may have like a 401k plan. If not, then you'll find other accounts and things that you can take out while you're an individual, right, to make sure that you're taken care of. But either way it goes, savings has to move from the bottom of the budget, right, to the top of the budget. Okay, because at the end of the day, okay, regardless of what it does, we cannot continue to live hand to mouth. Which is everything that hits our hand, we just eat it, and then now we're looking like, oh my God, my hands are empty.
It's so stressful. It's so stressful. Yeah, and it's unnecessary stress. A lot of, and we sit with a lot of families, and usually this is kind of the tough part of the conversation, which is you have to live below your means.
You have to.
You have to. And if you do it for a short period of time, you will reap the benefit for forever. Right? But if you're blowing through your income, whatever that may be, then you either gotta increase your income, which we recommend highly, or decrease your expenses.
Because most people miss the fact that your standard of living is the gap. That's where people miss it, right? Because they're like, okay, I make 30 grand, right? But I make 40 grand, but I'm spending 30. Well, your standard of living is only $10,000, right? When you look at it mathematically, what we do is we go, well, I'm making 40, let me go spend 60. And then we wonder why there's struggle, there's frustration, we can't move like we want to move, we can't do what we want to do. Then we start sliding cards to be able to just support the lifestyle. But it's just this mindset of, no, I gotta protect that gap and then eventually grow the gap. Well, the way you do that is you minimize those expenses, let that income go up, then it creates more opportunity, right, for you to do what you want to do. A big part of that, though, is stop looking at other people.
Man, I was just going to ask you. I was just getting ready to ask you, how do you teach that to a generation that looks at the TV and what others have? My success is determined by how much bling, what I'm sitting in, you know what I mean, what I wear. You know, what's the name of the jacket? Montclair, what do you call it?
See, but it was J's and Legos. You see what I'm saying? But it was J's and Legos.
There's a purpose. There's a purpose, and that's an investment.
Whoa, wait, what?
I'm going to go to Canada one day, and I'm going to need that Montclair.
See what
You're going to need it? It's cold, it's windy, it's snow.
In Canada.
You need that type of insulation.
Is that what it is?
Dr. J, you got to go to Canada, man. You got to take a trip to Canada.
Listen, when I was in Detroit, right next to that border, that is nothing I'm looking forward to. Nothing. So how do we teach that bringing savings from the ground to being a priority to a generation that really looks at spending?
First, we have to tell people this. Lord, help me, okay. We have to help people understand that you got to stop driving your retirement, right? And especially in our community, the cars that we drive, there's nothing wrong with having a nice car. You know, don't get me wrong. This dude is all about cars. Y'all are all about cars, right? And it's nothing wrong with that. But if your car is impeding you from properly filling those accounts, and especially your retirement long term, you know, you're going to get, it's going to be 30 years later, and you're not going to be thinking about that car that you had, you know, you was so fly in when you was 35, you know. So I think starting there at looking at just those kind of like very common spending habits that we have, that we see, you know, our family, our community, our friends doing, and addressing them directly. One thing that we like to say, we actually have a t-shirt, it says, friends don't let friends retire broke. If you're my friend,
I need one of those.
we got to talk about this.
Come on.
You know?
That's good.
Yeah, and I think, too, it's, you have to bust people's bubbles.
Yeah.
And so one of the things we do with grace and compassion and love, right? But sometimes you gotta pop the bubble.
Yeah,
Here's
pop
why.
the bubble.
One of the things that we do out on site, out the gate, right, is let's show you, because most people, if we be honest, don't even realize that they're in the red every month. And the only reason they don't realize that is because we don't ever really look at the budget as a 30-day window. We kind of look at it continuous. So as long as everything is paid, we believe, oh, we're good. Everything's okay. But when you really get down to it and you start itemizing everything and putting everything linear and writing it all down, you realize, oh, snap, we're actually riding through the month $500, $700, $1,000 short every day, but we just don't feel it because we're just continuously sliding the card, and everything's kind of rolling. So out the gate, I think one of the things you have to do with couples or as a couple is you have to get to what is the bottom line. Like, where are we really? Like, have that honest conversation, right? And in that, then begin to move forward from there. The Instagram, the Facebook, one of the things we tend to do, we try to do as much as we can is be very transparent. And I think from leaders' perspective, right, transparency is key, because what that's going to do is it's going to reveal the truth.
Right.
We're very open. Like, hey, this is where we were. Look at where our income was. Look at the truck I bought and didn't even realize I couldn't afford it. Look how much it set us back. Look how many years. Here's what my credit looked like. Here's why I need to work on it, because here's what I was paying when I had a bad number. Here's what I'm paying now that I got a good number. Right? So it's, once again, popping that bubble, right, and saying, hey, let's bring you back to reality and give you the truth. Because if we continue to live in facade all day long, then that's what we're going to have, and you'll never get to where, you know, you really want to get to.
And that can be hard, and so that's why we try to start with creating some transparency. You know, let me tell you my story. You know, when we didn't have even $500 in the savings, you know, like, let's talk about that so you can have some, you can see some hope, right? You know, everybody isn't there, you know, hopefully, Lord. But for the people who are there, there is hope, and you don't have to feel like you're stuck in this forever. It's a way out, but you got to change some habits.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And transparency is key. And a lot of times, you know, Lovett shares his testimony with walking to church. When we had, you know.
But people need to hear that.
Right.
People need to hear that.
They do.
You know what I mean?
But a lot of times people look at the now and they don't realize that there was a then.
There's a story.
There was a story of how you got to here.
Right.
And maybe that's why they see, you know, because he has an only child syndrome where he is, like, you know, very careful of his toys. So they may see that he's very careful of his toys.
Is he?
And it's because he had to go through something to get that toy. So that's why he's very careful of his toys, but they don't understand that it took some time to get to that toy. So it's very important to be transparent. Now, another thing that I want to ask you guys about before we wrap it up is, I want to tell you, I was upset with you.
Uh-oh. Here we go.
Oh, boy. On camera?
Let me tell you.
You got to do it. This on camera.
On camera?
Life insurance is something Lovett came home, and he can even probably tell you, I was like,
rolling your eyes.
Whatever. We don't need all that insurance. It's not that important. It is not that serious. it's really not that serious. It really is not. And I went through that days with him. I'm like, it's not that serious. It's really not that serious. Why? You don't even, if something happened to you, I was really upset.
Yeah,
and even to when you got there, I don't know if you noticed, but I was like.
You had an attitude? No,
complete attitude.
Not the rolling of the eyes.
Complete attitude.
And I said, bring out the pen. Give me the pen.
Give me the pen.
That's not.
And I don't know why I was so apprehensive about the insurance, because I don't think just the thought of it. And he just kept saying, well, we need this amount. And I'm like, I don't want all this insurance, because why do you even think that you need to get? I was upset with you. I apologize now.
You know what her thing was? Just give me enough to get you in the ground.
Yeah.
And that's what I
done. And that's and to no fault of your own. I'm so glad you asked that question, because that is one of the biggest things we face when we are talking to people. Life insurance is a critical part of building a strong financial house. And a lot of times we associate life insurance with, oh my gosh, I don't want you to die, and it's emotional. You don't ever want to think about your partner, the person you love, the love of your life, passing, prematurely, God forbid.
Right.
But if that does happen, right, what is replacing that income that was coming in to make sure that you can have a roof over your head, to make sure that you can pay the bills, to make sure you can send your children to college,
right,
or even beyond that, making sure your children don't start at zero again. A lot of times, this huge wealth gap that we see in the communities in our country is, yes, there's an earning income gap for sure, but it's also because other communities were taught how to properly use life insurance to build inheritance.
Yeah.
And so now their children and their grandchildren are not starting off trying to figure out, well, let me, try to scrape up some coins to buy a car and go to college and buy my first house. No, because their grandparents, their parents are leaving a legacy behind for their children. And so when we talk about that, because the worst thing is sitting with a wife, right? And sometimes it's hard for me to convey this when we're meeting with people and helping them understand that you're not taking advantage of this. This is not an emotional decision. It's a responsible decision, because you will now have to make sure that you have the proper income, right? That you have the proper money set aside to take care of the generations that are coming behind you.
Yeah. And I think it was an emotional decision for me, because I equated the money to replacing him.
Yeah.
And I think that was the emotional part of it. And that's what I was like, it's hard. I fought it all the way to when you got there. And when you got there, I did not like you whatsoever.
See, the thing about it, though, is, right, us as guys, we're very methodical.
Yeah.
Okay? We're very methodical. And, sis, me and bro, we're out every day. And so we talk everything from money to the kids, marriage, sports, whatever. We talk everything. But I know where we're going, money is important to talk about. Life is important to talk about.
Yeah.
So those are the conversations that resonate with me the longest. And though he'll tell you, I might not say nothing at first, and I'll go home and I'll sleep on it. I don't even say anything to her. But then I'll come back and I'll be like, what was that again?
Break that down to me.
Yeah, tell me that one more time.
That's good, though.
And because it's not that I'm not listening, you know what I mean? I want to digest it, right? And be able to say, okay, can I move this way? Let me move in this direction. And so quite naturally, let me shout my bro out and say, to me, he is one of the best financial gurus I know. And that's from watching YouTube clips, and not just his. I'm saying I look at Grant Cardone and all these other guys. I mean, we don't find guys like him in our community.
He's a beast.
Yeah, he is. Listen. He is the man.
Talking about,
And I'm not just saying that because you guys are here. You know what I mean? Like, I give you all my money now. So, it's like, you know what I mean? You got to be something.
Yeah,
you got to
we got to be doing something right.
So, but those conversations that we have, they resonated with me, and I'm like, dang, you know what? If I, for 25 years, it's not that not that I didn't love my kids and my wife, but
right.
I'm trying to live for now. You know what I mean? Let me do this, let me do that, and you get your little life insurance through the job or whatever, and it's whatever.
The worst, please don't.
But it's not
anyway.
a generational inheritance,
Right.
which is something that you taught me
Correct.
along the way. And I was like, you know what? That makes a lot of sense. That ain't nothing. That's pennies. You know what I mean? The stuff that we'll get on the job, that you can blow through that in a year. Right. You know what I mean? Right. And so I was like, you know what? I got to make sure they're going to be good if I leave out of here for a while. You know what I mean? That's the primary objective, that they would be good for a while. And that's all of them, all three of the kids and her. If I check out of here, they're good. And so with that being said, it didn't matter. I said, hey, come on, sign this paper. You know what I mean?
But because you love her, you were being responsible, and you were doing.
Absolutely. The thing about it is, I only wish I would have did it many years ago. Yeah. You understand what I'm saying? Yeah. Based on our conversations and knowing now from this age and this wisdom that I've obtained through walking with you and talking with you. You know what I mean? I only wish I did it, so much longer ago. And so many people, they're not thinking that way because they think, well, it's out of the budget. It's this. It's really not. You know what I mean? You can't afford not to have it, really. You know what I mean? And this year, you guys have probably had to sit with a lot of families. Yeah. You know what I mean? And
delivered a lot of claims.
And delivered a lot of claims. Yeah. So on one side, you know what I mean, you know that they're good. Yeah. You know what I mean? But you still, because you guys are pastors, you have to deal with the emotional onset of loss, and grief and mourning. And so, but you guys can testify. You guys can tell it. People leaving here every day.
Every day.
Yeah.
Every day. And it's amazing too, because it's literally like a pastoral visit with a check in my hand. Right. You know what I mean? And so I'm still there to love on them, pray with them, but also say, hey, here's some cash. The biggest thing is, and you're good. I knew, but I smiled through it. Hey,
Pastor Abdias.
Lady Lovett was not having me that day, but it's all good. It's all love. Because ultimately, number one, it's not the first time I've ever seen that. Okay. Because nobody wants to associate it, right? So I always say it like this. It's like car insurance, right? Nobody wants to have to use the car insurance, right? But ultimately, nobody wants to get in an accident and not have car insurance, right? And it's the same thing really with life insurance. The one thing that every single person walking the face of this planet has in common, if the Lord tarries, is that we're going to pass. Right. We're leaving here at some point. Yeah. And unfortunately, if we do and we don't leave anything behind, then that's why you see in our communities, right? We've all been around the funerals and everything, and what does mama have to do? She has to take the kids, move in with grandma, or move to another state, or move to another city, take them out of their schools, sell this, sell that, uproot everything they have going on. Yeah. So not only are you dealing with the trauma, right, and the mourning and the grief, but now you also got to try to be responsible in moving or changing everything that you're doing. And so for one, it's income replacement. We got to replace. If I don't make it home tonight, my wife and my son have to be taken care of, right? But on the flip side of that, one of the greatest things you'll see is majority of the wealthy people, right? And you'll be surprised because you'll think, oh, my God, they're millionaires. They have all this money. They own life insurance. Why? Because they're still trying to set up the next generation and say, hey, guess what? I don't want you to start from where I'm at, right? I want you to be ahead, and then I want you to do the same thing for yours so that 2-3 generations from now, our entire family's last name has changed. Exactly. And so really, for us, it's a big passion. And the reason I got into this business in the first place, right, because I was a client first and got educated. But the biggest thing that came to my mind is, like you said, right, is, man, nobody in our community knows this. Because we're having conversations, but we're not talking about money.
Right.
So clearly something's missing, because when I go to the other side of the tracks, that's all they talk about. Right. Well, what are you doing? What's your setup? What you look like? What's in your pockets? What are you working on? What are you investing in? I'm like, I don't know. But then you come on our side, and it's like nobody's talking about it. So for us, it became a passion of just how many people can we educate. And we're just excited now that in this moment and in this season that we're in now, ears are finally opening up, and it's creating opportunity for us to share, and individuals like yourselves that have trusted us. And I think that's the biggest thing about it that I love, is the fact that it is really a trust thing. Like, people have to trust you to do it, but the fact that we have People doing that, that's huge for us. We take that seriously. Like you said, man, we've delivered 4 death claims this year. You know what I mean? On clients
I thought it was more than that.
Right?
Because I know we talk about it often.
Right, and we don't realize that people are leaving, but the beauty is the fact that even in the midst of that tragedy, I've had families look at me and go, but thank you. Yeah. And even one of them was a family who literally, the wife, told me, no, I don't want it, we're not doing it. And the husband actually did it behind their back, kind of like, no, we got to do this, but we delivered, right? And then to now have them say, thank you so much for still fighting for us to get understanding. And so it's really balancing for us a program, right? You got to make sure you have your insurance, but we got to make sure you're saving at the same time so that your family's protected on both sides, regardless if you die too soon or if you live too long, because both are an issue in America today.
Love it, man. I love it. Love it.
This has been awesome.
Oh,
yeah, this was so much fun.
Thank you for having us, man. We appreciate it.
Thank you guys for being on here. And now I feel bad again. But
you good.
You want to tell Facebook land about you guys' business?
Yeah,
absolutely. How they can reach you guys.
Sure. So if you would like to get more information, you can reach us. You can visit our website at empoweredtmf.com. It's an ED at the end of empowered, so empoweredtmf.com. We are always on social media, so you can find us at Shauna_empowered, AJ_empowered, or you can call our office directly at 561-859-1500. We love to empower your family and your business.
These are the people to do it for sure.
Absolutely.
Amen.
Absolutely.
And Lovett, talk about our Spotlight business.
Okay, you rolling across the screen?
Yeah.
Hey, man, today our Spotlight business owner is Dante Talton.
Love it.
And we are spotlighting Rev's Custom Cufflinks.
Yeah.
I don't have a pair on today, but this young man, he custom makes cufflinks.
Yeah.
And so for all the brothers who are out there, you're in suits and cufflinks, or you're just an everyday business guy.
Yeah.
This man here, he can do it. Do we have his contact information? You can find him on Instagram. IG at Rev's Cufflinks, as a matter of fact, and on Facebook, DT Gerard. Or is it DT Talton? I'm way out of line, but I'm going to tag him. I'm going to tag him on this one. Yeah. And guys, you guys got to check him out. I believe he also does some women products as well.
He does women's brooch.
Yes.
He does.
Custom.
Okay.
Okay.
He is supposed to be making women's earrings, so I'm gonna keep messing with him on that. That's what Lady Lovett is waiting on.
We gotta get him.
Because he letting other people wear them brooches, so I need something special for Lady Lovett. So I'm waiting on that. Waiting for him to do that. But thank you guys again for joining us on the couch.
Thank
and
you for having us.
you guys, we are going to take a fall and winter break, and we will see you guys back on the couch in January. So have a blessed night.
Good night, y'all.
Have a great one,
Thank you for
everyone.
joining us.